4 people have entered the waiting room meeting. Admit all. 7 people are waiting. 6 people are waiting. Start is not allowing me.
Yeah, can you hear and see us?
Now please type on the chat window.
Sent us out of the meeting and we had to rejoin in between. Yeah, that's fine. So can you hear and see us? Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So now, this is the situation. You will be at the point A when the input voltage is at 0 volt, okay, and the output. Okay, so you are at the point A when the input voltage is 0 and output voltage is, see, the PMOS channel provides a the PMOS transistor provides a perfect channel, so output voltage is Vout. Okay, now if the input voltage reaches VDD in no time, then you will be shifted to point B. Okay, where at this point it corresponds to input voltage and output voltage both equal to VDD. Now what happens actually? So NMOS transistor provides the perfect channel, and the capacity, so the moment it reaches VDD, the PMOS channel goes out and NMOS channel takes the command. So the capacitance gets discharged via the NMOS transistor. Okay, so at this point the NMOS transistor is in saturation because the output voltage is maximum. Now with the capacitance discharging the current, okay, via the NMOS transistor, it falls momentarily to point C. So at this point, you know that at the VDS is very small, so the NMOS channel is at linear region. So this is the transition. The transition for a positive going step, my dear, you see that from A to B to C. Now, although I have not seen what will happen to the negative going step, that I have written it here. You can see the transition will be from point C to point D to point A. Clear? So that means from when the input voltage is 0 volt, fine. Sorry, the input voltage is VDD. From VDD, it starts falling to 0. As soon as the input voltage reaches 0, you come at the point D. So this corresponds to the PMOS transistor in saturation. Clear? And NMOS transistor going off. Then you go to point A. It corresponds to what? The input voltage is 0 and output voltage is VDD. Perfect. So that provides the PMOS transistor in the linear region. Clear? That's what. Now to calculate the delay, through the inverter for input with slope. How to move this? Okay, now it's on. So we are now calculating the delay through the inverter for input with slope. So here you see, as you now apply a linear going ramp, so what happens? The curve will this plot of the output current, this will slowly shift towards the left. Earlier it was from A to B to C, from positive going step. So step waveform has got infinite amount of slope. Now with finite slope, okay, but it is positive going, mind you, okay, increasing. So with the decreasing slope, you will be shifted more and more towards the left, okay, starting from here. Himadri is waiting, but how to admit here? Okay. Okay, welcome Himadri. Now you see that with the decreasing input slope, the curve will the output plot, the output current plot will slowly go towards the left. Clear? And what is the situation? And what will the propagation delay? Earlier, whatever was the propagation delay, you see that the output current value will be less and less. Okay. For positive input, the current trajectory will depend on the slope of the input. If slope is high, it will behave like a step input, like ABC. But if the slope is gradually decreased, the trajectory will cut the corner. That means the I out will gradually increases to reach. Okay, it cannot reach moment. In zero moment. Okay, it will take some finite moment and there is less amount of current through the capacitance. So discharging process will take place longer and naturally the delay will be more. Okay, that we are going to find out. So and for the I have not shown what it will look like a negative going ramp. So that means for the negative step, the transition, if you remember, from C to D to A, but with negative ramp with decreasing slope, it will cut the corner and it will start from here, it will shift towards the right gradually. Okay, we have not drawn it on the figure, but you can easily characterize it. Now the problem is that let us derive an analytical expression for the delay high to low with step input. So that is what we have shown it here. If this is the input voltage, the output voltage will be exponentially going down. Okay. Okay. So output voltage is will be exponentially going down. It will not fall instantaneously. Okay. So output voltage is this I out equal to Habibur Rahman is waiting, but how to admit I cannot do. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. So now you see that I out is this. Now I have drawn the graph for your benefit. So output voltage, what we are going by the standard definition is that how long it will take for the output voltage to go from VDD to VDD by 2. That is the propagation delay, TPHL. Okay. So what we have done, you see that the voltage. So this is the point C minus CL dV out. That means it goes from VDD to VDD by 2. So we have written like that, and in what time, that is TPHL step, and hence you get this expression for the TPHL step. It is the product of capacitive voltage VDD by 2 divided by Imax. And what is Imax also? You see that Imax, as it is step input, so instantaneously it reaches the maximum value. So actual value of Imax will depend on the device parameter. That we are not going into detail, right? Because from the current expression you can easily find it. It will depend on the W by L ratio, mu, COX, all that, right? Now let us subject this inverter to a positive going rank. Now it is interesting. You see that how the input voltage will be. It is a positive going ramp. Now we are assuming something. Please pay your attention. So this is very important. Solution is that for the ramp input, assume that at t equal to 0, the capacitance is charged up to V out equal to VDD at t equal to 0. Okay. And also the input voltage reaches the middle point, that means VDD by 2. And at the input voltage equal to VDD by 2, the current through the PMOS transistor and NMOS transistor are equal. Now as you go beyond t equal to 0, okay, so the discharging process will start and the NMOS current will be above the PMOS current. So now the NMOS transistor is in command. Okay, and at V equal to VDD by 2, IP equal to IN. But for V greater than VDD by 2, okay, that means in the range T varying from 0 to TR by 2, the IN, the NMOS current exceeds PMOS current. That is the capacitive current, that I out will be positive. I out means it is towards the output node. Okay, so how the mathematical equation will look. You see that just consider the relation between the voltage across the capacitors and the current. It is I out equal to minus CL dV out dt. So if you integrate this equation, it becomes integral I out dt equal to minus CL dV out. Okay, it's integration. So that's what we are writing. But note one thing very clearly. Note one thing very clearly is that this I out will be a straight line from here from 0 to TR by 2. What is TR by 2? TR by 2, see, full TR means it is the time the input voltage is taking for going from 0 to VDD. So TR by 2, rise time by 2, it means it is a time the input voltage takes to move from VDD by 2 to VDD. Okay, the half of the power supply voltage to the full power supply voltage. And during this time, what is the slope of the curve? That you can tell me. It is clearly Imax divided by TR by 2, right? So this is Imax by TR by 2. This is the slope of the curve. So that means it equal to Y equal to MX, right? So that's why from 0 to TR by 2, 0 to TR by 2, the Y equal to MX. So it is Imax by TR by 2 and dt. So right. So this is the what you call the independent variable t. So this is from 0 to TR by 2. It is Imax by TR by 2. This is the slope of the curve, straight line curve into t into dt. And from TR by 2 up to TPHL step, the current remains constant, Imax. And on the right hand side, you have got minus CL, and the output voltage will, how much time the output voltage will take to go from VDD to VDD by 2. That gives me the TPHL, propagation delay from high to low. So by mathematical, I'm sorry, by mathematical manipulation, you can see that TPHL in response to a ramp going waveform, it is what? It is this time is due to the TPHL for step waveform, and this is the additional time. So you see that as the discharging current will be smaller in this case, so this additional time will be unavoidable. That is TR by 4. Note what is TR? TR is the full time that is the input voltage taking to go from 0 to VDD. Clear? So this is the additional or extra time, right? So now let me now. So now is the time that you have got the TPHL expression corresponding to a ramp waveform. Now you see. Now the inverter delay, so here the inverter delay corresponding to considering input, considering finite input slope, we use the approximation TR by 2 is almost equal to TPHL step. That is very important. Why do we do this? Why we do this approximation? Note that what is the TPHL step? TPHL step is the time taken by the output voltage to go down from VDD to VDD by 2 in response to a step going waveform, positive step. Clear? And what is TR by 2? TR by 2 is the time taken by the input waveform, which is a linear ramp, to go from VDD by 2 to VDD. Clear? Now, if you make this approximation, it means that we are trying to approximate an exponential waveform to a linear waveform. Okay, that means TPHL step is the time taken by V out to fall from VDD to VDD by 2 in response to step voltage. And TR by 2 is the time taken by the ramp input. Ramp is a linearly going input to rise from VDD by 2 to VDD. So above approximation means that we are trying to approximate an exponential decay of the V out with a linear going or falling ramp. And similarly, for an exponential rising waveform, we are trying to find the similarity between that exponentially rising waveform with a positive ramp. Then we can write TPHL ramp equal to just what we have written on the earlier page. TPHL ramp equal to TPHL step by 2 plus TPHL step. Clear? You remember that TR by 4 was there. So it is TR by 2. So half of that means TPHL step by 2. Right? So instead of TR by 4 equal to half of TR by 2. Right? So, and TR by 2 we have approximated with the TPHL step. So we are writing this half of TPHL step. Thus the delay due to ramp is T ramp equal to delta T ramp plus T step. Now this delta T ramp, that is the additional amount of time which accounts for the greater propagation delay in response to a ramp waveform. This depends on the rise or falling delay of the input ramp. To relate the delta T ramp to propagation delay for a step input, if t in equal to rise or falling time of the input as per the above example, the delta t ramp is nothing but t in by 2. Okay, so what is t in? T in acquires for tr by 2. That means the rising time if it goes from VDD by 2 to VDD, falling time if it goes from VDD to VDD by 2, right? So it can be rise or it can be fall. So here also I have shown by the simple diagram. So this is the step waveform falling delay and the greater amount of falling delay for the ramp going waveform. Now above result, if you write like this, the total propagation delay due to a ramp waveform, okay, will be equal to the propagation delay due to step waveform plus this additional amount of time, t in by 2. What is t in? If you recall, it is the time taken by the input waveform. If it is a rising waveform, the time taken to go from VDD by 2 to VDD. If it is a falling waveform, that accounts for the time taken by the linear ramp waveform to go from VDD to VDD by 2 down. Okay. Now above result is convenient for delay of an inverter chain with ramp input. Why? Let me now show you. We have considered a linear chain of 4 inverters. Now the propagation delay corresponding to step waveform is 0.69 RC or simply 0.7 RC. Now delta T ramp is what? Half of this, right? So T in by 2, that is 0.7 RC by 2. Now I know that you can say this is 0.35, but for simplicity we can write it as 0.3 RC because 0.7 plus 0.3 gives me 1. Okay, this result we are using to our advantage for what it follows. That means 0.7, if you take the 50% of that becomes 0.35, but actually we are taking it to 0.3. So that's what we are writing as t in by 2. Okay, now you are considering 4 inverters. Assume that at the leftmost end you are having a linear going ramp which is varying like this, linear going ramp. It is not a step waveform, but it is a linear or positive going ramp. Okay. Now remember that if t in is a rising time to go from VDD by 2 to VDD, then the additional delay will be t in by 2, right? So that's what we are writing as t in by 2 plus the TPHL1. Now TPHL1 is the delay of the inverter to show response in response to a step going waveform, and this additional time is coming because now it is a ramp going waveform. Now we'll see some falling, although it is a exponential, but for simplicity we are showing it as the output of the inverter 1, we are showing it as a falling ramp. Again, this falling ramp is subjected to the second inverter, so it will show a linear going positive going ramp. Again, this is subjected to inverter number 3, so in response it will show a falling or linearly going ramp down, and this in turn is applied to inverter number 4 or the 4th inverter in the chain, and in response it will show a positive going ramp, okay, linearly going ramp in the up direction, in the forward direction. So finally at the point P, how we are getting the delay? So just sum up the delays due to inverter 1, inverter 2, inverter 3 and inverter 4. Now what is the delay shown by inverter 1? It is nothing but t in by 2 plus TPHL1, right? I have written L1, TPHL1 will be what? You can tell me. It is the product of this capacitance C1 and the NMOS NMOS resistance, okay, right? And the second inverter, its response time is t in 1 by 2 plus TPLH2. What is TPLH2? It is the product of C2 and the PMOS resistance, right? And what is t in 1 by 2? T in 1 is the delay by V in 1 to go down from VDD to VDD by 2, and T1 by 2 is just half of that. Again, this is subjected to inverter number 3. So what is the delay by the inverter number 3? It is TPHL3, and this is a downgoing ramp. Okay, so downgoing ramp. Okay, Manu, please enter. So TPHL1 means it is the product of C3 and the NMOS resistance. And what is Tn by 2? If the rising waveform at the input of the inverter 3 is t in 2, rising waveform means time to go from VDD by 2 to VDD, then it is the half of that. And finally, See, the inverter 4 will respond by having a upgoing or positive going waveform. So here TPLH4 means now who is in command? The PMOS transistor. So TPLH4 means it is the product of C4 and the resistance of the PMOS transistor. That is TPLH4. Now what is T in 3? T in 3 is the this linearly going waveform of V in 3. So T in 3 means the time taken to go from VDD to VDD by 2, and this by 2 means it is the 50% of the time. So this is the total amount of time. It corresponds to of the eight different subterms. Now let me tell you one thing. If the inverters are identically designed, that means the NMOS transistor and the PMOS transistor resistances are equal. So then the capacitances also will be equal, and slight difference may be there. For another simplicity, if we say that this input rising or falling waveform, if it is related to that of the last stage input waveform, okay, that means here for inverter 4, if we relate the input rise or fall time delay of this input waveform with the propagation delay of the last stage, that means let us say T in equal to 0.7 R4C4. If we do that, now see the simplicity. That means T in is now replaced by half of 0.7 R4C4. That means T in by 2 will approximately become 0.3 times R4C4. Then the entire expression can be just written as the linear sum of RC product of individual inverters, right? So it will become R1C1 plus R2C2 plus R3C3 plus R4C4, where the resistances are nothing but the NMOS or the PMOS resistances of the inverters. Okay, so for example, for the inverter 1, it is the NMOS resistance. For the inverter 2, it is a PMOS resistance. For the inverter 3, it is the NMOS resistance, whereas for the fourth inverter, it is the PMOS resistance. So we can now conclude that the propagation delay for input waveform with a finite slope, we have to calculate, we just have to add up the product of on resistance and the load capacitance for each stage. For example, for the inverter 2, what is the on resistance? As it is the positive going waveform, so on resistance is the PMOS resistance, and what is the load capacitance? It is the C2. For the inverter 3, what is the on resistance? It is the negative going waveform, so it is the on resistance is the NMOS transistor resistance, and the output capacitance load is C3. Clear? So it is a very simple expression. This we shall adopt now. That means assuming that the input is a waveform with a finite slope, the total propagation delay we can write up simply as the linear sum of RC product, right? Only thing we have to be clear is that whether this R corresponds to NMOS resistance or PMOS resistance. Now, let us calculate one problem. Here, calculate the delay for a CMOS inverter which is driving 4 inverters. So 4 inverters mean, we say that 4 inverters means it is like okay, so FO4 delay. Now CMOS inverter with pull-up device, you see that the resistance may differ. This is a practical problem. So WL of the NMOS is 4 lambda by 2 lambda, whereas this is 8 lambda by 2 lambda. Okay, and it is made 2 times so that roughly the rising time and falling time is same. Okay. Now, if you have a CMOS inverter driving 4 devices, let me first calculate the total output capacitance. As you can recall, in the earlier class we say that the capacitance at the node will be made of 3 components. What are they? The fan-out capacitance, the self capacitance, and the third one is varying capacitance. Now, dear friends, I have not mentioned that the varying capacitance will matter only when you have got a long interconnect. But here we assume that the interconnect length is short, so varying capacitance we are neglecting. But please write down, please note down the varying capacitance per unit length. Normally for the prevalent technologies, it is given the value of 0.2 femtofarad per micrometer. And I believe you recall that what is the fan-out capacitance per unit length? That is 2 femtofarad per micrometer, and the effective capacitance which is required while we calculate the self capacitance, it is 1 femtofarad per micrometer. Okay, let me see. So the total load capacitance, let me write out. It is 4 times CG. Why 4 times? Because the load consists of 4 inverters. So 4 times their gate capacitance, that is 4 into CG into Wn by plus Wp, because we have got an NMOS transistor, we have got a Wp. And the total resistance, you see that for 180 nanometer technology, 2 lambda or the feature size is nothing but 0.18 micrometer. Okay, and 0.18 means roughly 0.2, you can say. Now when we write 4Cg into Wn plus Wp, okay, so Cg is 2 femtofarad per micrometer, Wn is what? That is Wn means 4 lambda. Now 2 lambda is 0.18, so 4 lambda will be 0.36, but we are writing for simplicity 0.4. Similarly, 8 lambda means it is 0.72, but for simplicity we are taking it 0.8. That means instead of taking it as 180 nanometer, we are taking it 2 lambda to be 200 nanometer or 0.2 micrometer. That's why 4 lambda becomes 4 lambda becomes 0.4 micrometer, whereas 8 lambda becomes 0.8 micrometer. Clear? I hope it is clear. See, 2 lambda equal to 0.2 micrometer. So 4 lambda means 0.4, 8 lambda means 0.8. Now we are writing these as the total fan-out capacitance, that is 9.6 femtofarad. And what is the self-capacitance? My dear friends, you recall, what do you mean by self-capacitance? It is the capacitance due to the driver itself. And what is this? This is the product of effective capacitance into Wm plus Wp. And what is the effective capacitance that you recall for our earlier discussion? That is 1 femtofarad per micrometer multiplied by 4 lambda plus 8 lambda, 0.4 plus 0.8, so it becomes 1.2 femtofarad. And the varying capacitance we simply neglect. Okay, so the total load capacitance is 9.6 plus 1.2, that is 10.8 femtofarad. So then the propagation delay from high to low, it is the effective resistance for the NMOS transistor multiplied by C load. What is the effective resistance of the NMOS transistor? That is 12.5 kilo ohm.
Okay, looks like everyone got disconnected. Yes, so can everyone hear us? Yeah, you can continue.
Okay, thank you. Is there? It is connected. Now not connected. We switched on, no?
No, I didn't do anything.
Okay.
Right no, just out of the blue, the internet got lost.
Oh, really?
This is the problem with Beijing only, not here.
Yeah, that is malfunction. So you have to change it probably. No? Okay. How to that manage participants because that whether someone is entering or not? Oh, yeah. So host me and how many recording? Sure. This window I can show you. Okay. Okay. Thank you, friends. So we are calculating the delay for the CMOS inverter which drives 4 inverters, that is FO4 delay. Now TPHL, that means the propagation delay from high to low. Low, it is the R effective N and the C low. Okay, that is simply the resistance of the now the on resistance for TPHL. It is this NMOS resistance, that is 12.5 kilo ohm per load into L by W into the total load resistance, that is 10.8 femtofarad. So 12.5 into 1 by 2. Why N by 2? It is L by W. See 2 lambda by 4 lambda. Okay, so that is 1 by 2 into 10.10, that is 68 picosecond. Whereas TPLH, that means the delay at the output when it goes from low to high, now the effective resistance will be due to PMOS, that is equal to 30 kilo ohm into L by W. So 2 lambda by 4 lambda, that is 1 by 4. So 30 kilo ohm into 1 by 4 into 10.8 femtofarad, that is 81 picosecond. And the average propagation delay is half of the TPLH plus TPH, that is 74.5. Now instead of a fan out of 4, if we have a linear chain, now compute a delay for a chain of 4 inverters assuming a ramp input. Include the effect of differing rise and fall delay. So the solution is that compute FO1 or fan out of 1 rise and fall delay. TPHL, that is the R effective N multiplied by CL, that is 12.5 kilo ohm into 1 by 2. Why it is 1 by 2 again? It is because of the length by width of the NMOS transistor. 2 lambda by 4 lambda, that's why it is 1 by 2. Okay, and as before, the total capacitance is 2 femtofarad per micrometer Cg into Wn plus Wp, that means 4 lambda plus 8 lambda or 0.4 plus 0.8 micrometer, and this is C effective 1 femtofarad per micrometer, 0.4 plus 0.8. So total we can calculate and find out that now the delay will be 22.5 seconds, whereas TPLH it equal to, in similar manner, L by W of the PMOS transistor, that is 2 lambda by 8 lambda, so 1 by 4, 30 kilo ohm per square into 1 by 4 into the total capacitance, that is 27 picosecond. And total delay, mind you, here if you apply a step, positive step, here it will be negative step. For inverter 1 and inverter 2, it will be negative going step, whereas for inverter 2 and inverter 4, it will be positive step. Okay, so 2 positive and 2 negative. That means 2 TPLH and 2 TPHL. So it is 2 times 22.5 plus 27 or equal to 99 picosecond. That is simple. So we have to take into account that it is alternately negative and positive going step. Actually, it is exponential, but for simplicity, we are assuming that it is a ramp. So it is a positive ramp. Here it is a negative ramp. Again a positive ramp, negative ramp, and positive ramp. Okay. Now, a very important problem is that we are trying to find out the optimal PMOS device size for inverter chain. From here, you will get the answer of why we have been taking WP to be twice WN in general. That will, the analysis of this part will give us that answer. First of all, the problem can be two types. Either you want to equalize the rise delay and the falling delay, or you want to minimize the delay through the chain. So let us look at the two separate problems. Let us look at the separate problem. To equalize the rise and fall delay or to minimize the propagation delay, we can perform the inverter sizing. Consider Shubham all the time is waiting. I don't know why. Again, I am admitting. No problem. Okay, so I believe all of you are listening. Uh, so here, consider 4 inverters in a chain as shown below. Assume that NMOS devices are all 4 lambda wide, while all the channel length is 2 lambda for all the transistors. Size the PMOS devices with the objectives. Equalize rise fall delay, minimize delay to the chain. Find the delay through 4 such inverters. In the 2 cases, in 0.18 micrometer technology, 2 lambda equal to 0.2 or lambda equal to 0.1. Okay. So here, first of all, we try to equalize the rise and fall delay. That means this delay is same as this delay. Note that the in order to equalize the rise delay and the fall delay, as we know that the equivalent resistance of the PMOS transistor is 2.4 times that of the NMOS transistor. So if we can make the width of the PMOS transistor to be 2.4 times the width of the NMOS transistor, then the rise time and the fall time delay will be same, identical. Okay, this is because of this factor. You just see 30 divided by 12.5 equal to 2.4. Thus, to equalize the delays, PMOS devices should be nearly 2.4 times larger than 4 lambda NMOS device. Note that we have chosen the WN to be 4 lambda. So the necessary WP should be 2.4 times. So 4 into 2.4, that is 9.6. For a rough estimate, we take the PMOS device size to be 4 into 2.4 or nearly 10 lambda. Now what is 10 lambda? Lambda equal to 0.1, so 10 lambda equal to 1 micrometer. Okay. Now the total capacitance at each output, C load capacitance, is the sum of the fan out capacitance, self capacitance and the wiring capacitance. As before, you remember that CG or the fan out capacitance per unit length is 2 femtofarad per micrometer, and the total capacitance this equal to 4 lambda plus 10 lambda. Why? Because 4 lambda is this, 10 lambda is WP. So 14 lambda into 2, that is 28. And here that is effective capacitance. This is for the self capacitance part. Again, sum of 4 lambda, 10, so 14 lambda, that means 1.4 micrometer. So in all we get 1.4 into 2, that is 2.8 plus 1.4, so 4.2 femtofarad. Okay, this is the total capacitance at each output. Now that means here, although we are getting alternately, say this is positive going RAM, here we are getting negative going RAM, positive going RAM, negative going RAM, and each, because of the fact that the PMOS resistance and the NMOS resistance are same, identical, so hence the rise time and the fall time will be same, right? So this rise time, this fall time, this rise time, this fall time, this rise time, all are equal. So hence we just calculate the TPHL or TPLH of any one of the inverter and just multiply by 4. So that is one problem. That means equalized rise and fall delay implies that the delay of the chain is 4 times the delay of the each stage. Okay, so that is tau total equal to 4 TPHL or 4 times the effective resistance in C load. Mind you, now the problem is that equalized delay. So this gives me 105 picosecond. Not necessarily, in fact, that is not the minimum delay. The minimum delay we shall now encounter. That means we can equalize the rise fall delay or you can minimize the propagation delay. So far, the first sub problem that we have seen corresponds to equalization of the delay. Okay, equalization of the delay means the TPLH equal to TPHL for all the stages. So that gives me total delay of 105 seconds. 105 picosecond for a chain of 4 inverters. Now we shall calculate what is the delay if we have to minimize the delay. Now the problem will be a bit different. Now let us see here. So the second sub problem is that we want to minimize the delay through the chain of 4 inverters. That means we have to find the optimum size or width of the PMOS transistor so that we can get minimum delay through the chain of 4 inverters. Okay, that is the problem. Now what we do here, the unknown is WP, the known as 4 lambda. So what we write, we here, as it is alternately negative and positive, they need not necessarily be the same. That means whatever be the negative going rate of fall is not necessarily the positive going rate of rise for the subsequent stage. Clear? Because I have written that here, note that TPHL and TPLH are likely to be different. Of course, it will be different because now the problem is different. We have to minimize the delay to the entire chain. So what we do, we just take a pair of consecutive inverters, because here it is negative, here it is positive. Or you can say these two also, here it is positive, here it is negative. So as it will give me the flavor of both rise and fall, so it will suffice to minimize to find the minimal width. It will be adequate if we take just a pair of consecutive inverters. So if we take these two, first it will be, say for example, if we take say this and this, second and third, then first the delay will correspond to positive going. So we have to take the effective resistance of PMOS transistor and the total load capacitance. Okay, and in the second case it is the negative going, so you have to take the effective resistance to be NMOS transistor and the total load. Mind you, the total capacitive load will be same for each of the node. First, second, third, fourth. There are 4 nodes. If you leave out the input nodes, then this for the 4 nodes, the total load capacitance will be same. Only the effective resistance will differ. In one case, it may be the resistance of the PMOS. In the next case, it will be resistance of the NMOS. Yeah. So that's what we are doing. So first thing, if it is the effective resistance of PMOS transistor, this 30 kilo ohm multiplied by LP by WP. Remember that for all the transistors, the channel length are the same. That is 2 lambda or 0.1 micrometer. Okay. So for all the PMOS transistor and for all the NMOS transistors, the channel length happens to be same, namely 2 lambda or 0.1 micrometer. Okay. So here we see for the PMOS effective resistance, this is 30 kilo ohm multiplied by L by W of the PMOS transistor. What is L by W? WP we do not know. So we write LP we do write no. So 2 lambda by WP. Clear? For the NMOS transistor, we know both L by and W. That is, L is the 2 lambda is Ln, Wn is 4 lambda, and 12.5 kilo ohm per square. So 12.5 into 2 lambda by 4 lambda. Multiplied by 2 plus 1. Why? Because we are taking CG and CF to be common. So 2 plus 1, 3. And WP plus 4 lambda. WP is unknown. Wn is 4 lambda. Now, we rewrite this expression with proper, so just if you write in a simplified manner, that becomes 180 lambda plus 720 lambda square plus by WP, 75 by 4 WP plus 7. So only unknown is WP. We have to find the optimal WP. So what else but just doing the differentiation? Lambda we know, mind you, 1 lambda equals to 0.1. Okay, so it is del D del WP of D. You differentiate the total delay. Total delay means what? Just the sum of the delay of 2 consecutive inverters. That delay expression, you differentiate this expression with respect to WP. So what we get, the optimum width of the WP is equal to 6.2 lambda. Now for simple geometry, just take WP equal to 6 lambda. Based on simple models for delay, optimal WP by Wn equal to 6 by 4. Why 4? You see that for all the NMOS and PMOS transistor, the delay, I'm sorry, the Wn equal to 4, the NMOS transistor width. For both the problem, WP is the unknown, and here we found that the optimal WP should be 6 lambda. Then the total C load equal to C fan out plus C cells plus C watt. That is what? Here it is CG equal to 275 per micrometer. Okay, and Wn plus WP is what? Wn is equal to 4 lambda and WP 6. So 10 lambda. 10 lambda means 0.1. I'm sorry, 10 lambda, I think it is 1. Yeah. Is lambda equal to 0.1, so 10 lambda equal to 1. So it will become 3 femtofarad. Okay. 2 into 1 plus 1 into 1, so 3 femtofarad. And now the rising delay will be TPLH plus equal to rising delay R effective P to C load. That is L by W is what? L is 2 lambda, WP is 6 lambda, so 2 by L. That means 30 kilo ohm into 2 by 6 into total capacity load capacity, that is 3. So it is 30 picosecond. Whereas the falling delay, you see that it is the effective resistance of the inmost transistor. That is 12.5. Okay, so it is 12.5. So that means 12.5 into L by W for the NMOS transistor. It is length is 2, width is 4 to 2 by 4. So 12.5 into 1 by 2 into 3, that becomes 18.75 picosecond. Now the total delay you have to calculate carefully. So alternately it is positive and negative. So for the 2 output it will be positive, for the two remaining output it will be negative. So it will be 2 times TPHL plus TPLH. In the earlier case, equalized rise fall delay, we just multiplied TPHL or TPLH with 4. Here it is sum of TPHL plus TPLH equal to 2. So it is 2 into 18.75 plus 30, that is 97.5 picosecond. Okay. Now, a very important thing that I can tell you now is from the timing perspective, the selection of PMOS width. From the timing perspective, the selection of PMOS and NMOS width is a function of several factors. Okay, one can equalize or minimize, one can equalize rise and fall delay, or one can minimize the rise and fall delay through a chain of inverters. Actual delay also will depend on the rate of rise of the ramp input waveform and the oxide and junction capacities, various things. So here we find that 6 by 4 or WP by WN, 6 by 4 means 1.5. 6 by 5 or 1.5 is required if you need to minimize the delay. On the other hand, in the previous problem we showed that if you have to equalize the delay, then what is the requirement of WP by WN? It is simply 2.4, roughly 2.5. So if you want to equalize the delay, take the WP to WN as 2.5. Whereas if you want to minimize the delay, if you take it as 1.5. Now what is in between 2.5 and 1.5? Only 2, right? So as designers, we can typically use 2:1 ratio for the width of the PMOS and width of the NMOS, since it is a compromise between the minimal delay for which it is required that the WP to WN should be 1.5, whereas for equalized rise and fall delay it should be 2.5. So as a middle one between, as a go between 1.5 and 2.5, we take 2. Okay. Yeah. So that's about the choice of the PMOS device size for inverter chain. Okay. So in practice, we have found by analysis that for minimizing the overall chain delay, it is required that WP should be 1.5 times wider than WN. But for equalized rise fall delay, we found that it should be 2.5 times. So what we do as a compromise, overall we have seen that we have to take WP to be 2 times WN. So for practical purpose, as a compromise between the equalized rise fall delay and the minimized overall chain delay, let us take WP to WN as 2:1. Clear? Now, so once again, let me summarize. What we have seen today is the calculation of delay through an inverter for an input waveform which has got finite input slope. It can be a rising waveform or it can be a falling waveform. Okay, so far before today's lecture we have seen that the input we tacitly assume to be a positive going step. That means a rising waveform with 0 rise time, or a negative step, that means a falling waveform with 0 fall time. But now we say that let us assume that there is a finite rise time and finite fall time. And also we have clear idea of what can be the value of the rising waveform. That means the rate of rise also we have a clear idea. We saw through a contour map that if we have to plot I out as a function of input voltage and output voltage on a 2D map, it will take the shape of a contour map where the regions having the similar shades will correspond to having values of I out within the same range. Like the way we draw while drawing maps, contour map. You know that what we mean by a contoured line on a geography drawing. Contoured line means it is a line passing through points which have nearly similar heights above the sea level. Okay, so here also in the middle lies the voltage transfer characteristic or the DC operating point, which corresponds to IP equal to IN, right? Where I out equal to 0. So this corresponds to the DC condition. For the varying conditions, if you have got a step waveform, you go right to the rightmost point and then come back like that. So while this is for positive going step, this is for negative going step. And for ramp waveform, for a slowly varying positive going ramp, the waveform, depending on the magnitude of the slope, less is the magnitude, it will come more towards the left, towards the VTC. Similarly, although we have not shown it here, you can easily understand that for a negative going ramp, the cutting the corner will be in the neighborhood of the point D. So for negative going step, it will be CDA. But if you decrease the slope more and more, the curves will cut the corner about the point D. It will proceed towards the right, towards the voltage transfer characteristic. Next, what we have done, we have derived analytical expression for the delay with the step input. That is straightforward. So for the step input, the current will also instantaneously rise up and it will remain constant at Imax. The actual value of Imax you can easily find out. That will be from the basic current voltage equation of the NMOS or PMOS transistor. Here for the discharging, we have to take into account the NMOS transistor, right? So whereas for the TPHL, the Imax is supposed to be constant throughout the time, that is over the TPHL step, and it is very simple. Now look at the ramp input for positive going ramp, where the discharging of the capacitance we are concerned with. So from this point onwards, from t equal to 0 onwards, that means from the halfway point of the input voltage, it has reached say half of the total power supply, and it continues its journey towards VDD. So during this time, the current will also follow the voltage waveform, and it reaches the maximum when the input voltage reaches the maximum, and then at least till the TPHL step interval, the current remains constant. So hence, from the basic current voltage equation of the capacitance, we can find out what is the total delay. That means the TPHL ramp. So its extent starts from t equal to 0 up to this point. So it is definitely longer than the previous case, because here the discharging current is smaller. Because here you see it instantly rises from the very beginning of the propagation high delay interval, it reaches the maximum. But here it gradually reaches the maximum. Okay, once it reaches the maximum, it stays constant till the TPHL or till the reaching of the VDD by 2 point by the output voltage is achieved, is attained. Okay, so here this total TPHL ramp is definitely greater than TPHL step, and by how much it is greater, that also we can find a simplified expression, that is TR by 4. Now what is TR by 4? TR stands for T rise time. Note from the simple plot, this TR is the total rise time. TR means the time taken by the input voltage to rise from 0 to VDD. So TR by 2 we denote it as the rise time. It is the time taken by the input voltage to go up from VDD by 2 to VDD. Okay, that is TR by 2. And correspondingly for a falling waveform, it is the time taken from VDD to VDD by 2. Now, TR by 4, it means that half of this delay, TR by 2, so 50% of that. Clear? Now what we do, we say, well, is TPHL step can be equalized to TR by 2. Yes, we can do that. That means assume that we have a chain of inverters. If we have a chain of inverters, if we assume that TPHL step, that means the time taken by the inverter to fall from VD to VD by 2 in response to a step, positive step. If it is TPHL step, then the additional amount of time when it falls in response to a RAM having TR by 2 to be equal to TPHL step, then that means it is just half of this TPHL step. So TR by 4, if we approximate TR by 2 to TPHL step, that means TR by 4 will be half of the TPHL step. There, no doubt. So that means this is the additional amount of time. This additional amount of time is nothing but T in by 2. Where T in, what is T in? T in is the rise time or the fall time of the input waveform. So T in means T in by 2 rather. T in by 2, it means that if it is say here it is an exponentially rising waveform. If we equate this to a linear going RAM, okay, that means 0.7 RC will be T in. So the additional time will be 0.7. What is the half of that? That is 0.35. But instead of writing this T in by 2 as 0.35, we write it as 0.3 times RC. Now, why we do that deliberately? Because we need to simplify the total chain delay. So the total chain delay is what we can find that it is nothing but the linear sum of RC product. Now what is this R? What is this C? CI is the input, is a load, is a total node capacitance at different nodes. So we are considering, if we leave out the input node, we are considering 1, 2, 3, 4 different nodes. So I equal to 1 to 4, and CI is the total capacitance at the node I, whereas Ri is the total on resistance. Now if we consider a falling resistance, then Ri is the NMOS resistance, whereas if we consider a rising waveform, this Ri is the PMOS resistance. So alternately NMOS and PMOS, NMOS, PMOS, NMOS, PMOS. Okay. So conclusion is that the propagation delay for input with finite slope, if we have to find out, we have to do nothing but adding up the product of all on resistance and the load capacitance for each stage. So that makes the analysis quite simple. Okay, that means it is nothing but sum of the RC product, where R is the on resistance. Now we can analyze this problem in different way. Remember that when we are having this, remember all of you that this linear sum of RC product will hold for only for input having a finite slope, not for step input, mind you. Okay. So here calculate the delay for CMOS inverter driving 4 inverters. So here at this point we are considering the total delay, whether TPHL or TPL, that will differ. So what is the total load capacitance at this output node? It is a sum of 3 factors. One is the fan out capacitance, one is the self capacitance, or self capacitance means self driving capacitance, the driver's capacitance itself, and the third one is the wearing capacitance. But for our problem, I believe throughout our course we shall tacitly assume that the wearing capacitance is 0. If we have a long interconnect, okay, then the wearing capacitance per unit length we shall take it as 0.2 femtofarad per micrometer. But so far I can tell you that this wearing capacitance, although it is there in our mind, but we shall take it as 0. So only we are going to consider the fan out capacitance and the self capacitance. Okay, so for this the total fan out capacitance will be 4 times, assuming that these inverters are identically designed, having identical widths of the NMOS and PMOS transistors. So it is 4 times Cg into Wn plus Wp, that is 9.6 femtofarad. Whereas the self capacitance of the driver, it is the effective capacitance. If you remember, it is 1 femtofarad per micrometer multiplied by total width, that means width of PMOS and width of NMOS, that means 8 plus 4, that is 12 lambda. Okay, so that is 1.2 femtofarad. So it is a load capacity, which is C fan out plus C cell plus C wear. This wiring capacity we take it as 0, which is 10.8 femtofarad. Then total TPH equal to the effective resistance. TPHL means now the NMOS transistor is instrumental in discharging the load capacitance. It is R effective N into C load. So 12.5 into L by W, mind you, the total resistance is obtained as 12.5 into L by W of this transistor. So that is 2 by 4, 1 by 2. 12.5 into 1 by 2 into 10.8 femtofarad, that is 68 picosecond. Whereas the TPLH is what? TPLH means now the PMOS transistor is effective in charging up the total load capacitance. Total load capacitance is 10.8 femtofarad multiplied by 30 kilo ohm into L by W, or that is 2 lambda by 8 lambda. Okay, so it becomes 81 picosecond, and the average propagation delay is average of 68 and 81, that is 74.5. And next, the problem was compute the delay for a chain of 4 inverters. So here you have to be careful. It is alternately it is negative going ramp and positive going ramp. So you calculate TPHL and TPLH separately, then 2 times that, 2 times sum of that. Okay, so hence it is the problem 99 picosecond. Okay, because that is 22.5, this is 27. Achha, next very important problem, what is the optimal PMOS device size for inverter chain? If you have to equalize the rise and fall delay for, that means here it is alternately negative and positive, but at every point of time we require same amount of delay. For that we find that it is required the WP should be 2.4 times, so we write it as a WP equal to 2.5 times. Okay, that's what you have taken. So that means 4 into 2.5 gives me 10 lambda. So assume that WP is 2.5 times wider than W, and then we get equal rise and fall delay. That is one problem. On the other hand, if you have to minimize the delay to the chain, we found by solving the differential equation, by differentiating the expression, we find that the width of the PMOS transistor is nearly equal to 6 times that, or WP by WP equal to 6 by 4 or 1.5. So if you have to find if you have to make the total delay to be minimal, then it is required that WP should be 1.5 times wider than WN. Whereas if you have to equalize the rise and fall delays at alternate nodes, it is required that the WP should be 2.5. Now, as an effective compromise between 1.5 and 2.5, we impose, or rather we as a designers, we normally go for making WP to be twice WN. That's all for our discussion. Next day, what we shall do, we shall take up the problem of gate sizing. Okay, gate sizing. Now, so far, if there is any doubt, please let me know on the chat window, or also you can send me emails. I'll take up your doubt. I can discuss about that. Okay. So, and let me see. Chat window one is that. Okay. So, sir, can you please upload the completed lectures on March 19, 23, 20? This was not YouTube. Actually, from 19 and 23, that time I held the class from our Talk to 10,000 Teachers Laboratory, that Diksha terminal, but they and many other faculty members from the institute also were taking the classes from there, but unfortunately they did not record it. The problem is that they said that the size will be huge. Okay, but now we are forced to stay at home and carry out the classes from here. Here actually we have got our own what do you call, the choice. Okay, so we can now so far what we are doing from indoors, we can do it from today's lecture also I will definitely put on the YouTube. But for those today discussions, I am sorry, the video lectures was not recorded. They did not allow. So of course those, but the PDF copies I believe I have sent it. Okay, so don't worry. If any doubt lingers, you can tell me about today's lecture. Sir, can you mail us the notes of today? Yes, definitely I shall do it. Don't worry, I'll do it, and also the entire lecture will make in video and put on the YouTube. But so far, any doubt is there till now what we have discussed? Let me know. If any doubt lingers, I can clarify it here. Even if you have got something lingering in your mind, you can write later in email. I'll definitely answer to that to the best of my ability. Okay, and also we'll put up today's discussion on the YouTube. So as before, I believe the other previous today's lecture you got on YouTube. Today's lecture also will go to the YouTube, but for the earlier days, that means 19th and 23rd, okay, those lectures, unfortunately, as I have told you, that it was held in Talk to 10,000 Teachers Lab, that basement of Kalidas Auditorium, but there they did not lecture in, they did not record the video for any faculty members, because they said that the size will be huge, and if it continues, then where shall we put so much load? But actually, for now, after 23rd, after 25th, I believe I did not held any lecture. After 23rd, it was next Sunday maybe. Okay. So after that, whatever we are discussing, I am putting this on YouTube. Okay. So anything you want to know, I hope that all of you are in good health. So please stay indoors, and let us pray. Let us hope that we'll surely meet in person before long. At least 2 more weeks to go before the lockdown will be lifted, I believe, or whatever. So let us wait patiently for that. So, any doubt is there on today's lecture? Yeah. Now, why it is going privately, I don't know. I want to say to everyone, but it is going privately. Oh, sorry. How to make everyone in meeting? Yes, if you send this to, please let me know if you have doubt. I have sent, but these become private. Oh, copy and then. I did not know that. There is so many options. Can you hear me? Now there's one person is waiting. Shubham is almost waiting. Only his internet is.
Stop sharing. You're saying yes, sir, but they're able to hear us. So
Yeah, you can talk with me. Hello, unmute. Yeah, unmuted. So unmute all.
I think they can unmute themselves if they want.
Yeah, if you can unmute and talk to me. Any doubt? Yeah, all of you are unmuted. You can talk. Shubham, all the time. Waiting. Why? Shubham, are you here?
So does anyone have any doubts?
Ritwik, any doubt? Nagesh?
Yeah, they're leaving actually. 8 participants are there, right?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, Munikanto.
Sir, what is exactly self-capacitance means? can you explain once again what is self
Okay.
capacitance?
Yes. Acha, last class I explained. If you see the last day's discussion, self capacitance. The term self capacitance means you have a driver and the load. Okay. So fan out capacitance means it is the input capacitance of the load, whereas for the driver, the additional self-loading capacitance. That means the driver itself will have also its capacitance that is reflected at the output node. So that consists of all the four parasitic capacitances and the overlap capacitance. If you remember last day's note, just refer to the notes. So there we discussed that at the end, the important capacitance that is left out is only C effective multiplied by Wn plus Wp, where the value of C effective is nothing but 1 femtofarad per micrometer. So in order to numerically calculate the self capacitance, where the term self capacitance means it is the capacitance due to the driver itself at the output node. Okay, so it will be simply the product of C effective, that means 1 femtofarad per micrometer multiplied by Wn and Wp. But how it is C effective in Wn plus Wp, for that we have to refer to the last day's discussion. Okay. And the fan out capacitance means it is the sum of the input capacitance of all the load. So here, for example, FO4 means it is a fan out of 4. So if a single inverter drives 4 inverters, you refer to as a FO4 or fan out of 4. That is a very standard in the different what you call the library of the gates that are built up. Fan out 4, fan out 1. Today we discussed about FO4, FO1, just two examples we showed. No. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Manikanta. Anyone else? You can talk.
Sir, this is
Supriyo.
Supriyo.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, regarding last day's lecture, I'm having a doubt over the, sir, the EDP question that was solved in the class.
PDP, yes, yes, PDP, yeah.
So, sir, in the question, sir, basically what happened, like when we are calculating the EDP, we were taking TP equals to 1 by 2F.
Yeah, 1 by 2. That is the limiting case. That is the limiting case. In general, you can write it as say C VDD squared by. So that means the TP is inversely proportional to F. You can say. Why? That I also showed. If you remember, that it is a that means that the sum of TPHL and TPLH that falls directly in the time period of the driving clock signal. Then it becomes so TPHL plus TPLH, that becomes 1 by 2F. But in general, the TP is inversely proportional to the frequency of the clock of the underlying clock signal. So in general, the CL VDD square F, that is power, whereas T equal to say 1 by F. So if you multiply them out, then power delay product becomes the product of capacitance and VDD square. So the frequency term goes out. Okay, that was PDP.
Yes, sir. So, sir, basically because of TP being proportional to 1 by F, we are just considering a frequency to be while considering TP, we are just taking frequency to be inverse of this, but not divide by 2.
Yeah. So 1 by 2F is a limiting case, you can say, special case.
Okay.
In general, in lieu of 2, you can have some constant also. But whatever is the case, the power delay product, it does not have any reference to the actual width of the device or the frequency of the clock, whatever. So that timing information is deleted from the PDP. That's why it is very difficult to compare two designs on the basis of PDP. Okay, so if you say that, well, suppose one design, say D1 and D2 designs, they are performing the similar thing, say multiplication or multiplier accumulator product, which is very much encountered in signal processing algorithms. So if D1 and D2 perform the same task, and suppose D2 has got lower PDP than D1, I cannot say that D2 is better. Why? Because lower PDP means either the CL is small or VDD is small. If the VDD is small, well, I gain in terms of PDP, but if VDD is smaller, the delay increases. That means the performance suffers. Okay, or even if you say that, well, D2 is better than D1 because in D2 the capacitance is lower. But if the capacitance is lower, how can the capacitance be lower? By reducing the resistance of, say, transistors, WN or WB, right? Because capacitance depends on the width. If you do that, then the driving current reduces. Okay, and if the driving current reduces, then again the delay increases. So either way, if by reducing CL or VDD, if you claim that since PDP goes down, so this reason is better, so then you can be counteracted by the fact that, well, although the PDP is lower, but the performance is worse. That's what it is, a different metric. So hence, instead of PDP, we are talking in terms of EDP, the energy product. Okay. Okay, friends. Huh? Is okay. Okay. Okay, Abruti, Nagesh, Ritik, Supriyo, and Venkatesh. Any more doubt? I mean, you are always welcome. You can write me emails. I believe that you know, all of you know my email ID. Also, you can phone me if you know my number, 94340474041. So any doubt, let me know. Okay, I'll always available. And I wish you a very good health, and please look after your health. All the best to everybody. So, can we end the meeting? I'll put the this video on the YouTube. Thank you very much for your participation. Okay, see you.